सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः कपिलाय नमस्तस्मै एनाविद्योदधौ जगतिमग्ने कारुण्यात् साङ्ख्यमयी मौरिव विहिता प्रतरणाय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः The 57th Karika, starting from there, 58 and 59, is all discussing how Prakriti is connected with Purusha, and without consciousness, insentient Prakriti, how manifest into different forms for the purpose of Purushartha. Now these two things, as Purushartha and the manifestation of Prakriti, is seemingly contradicting by its characters. The Purushartha can be there only in a conscious being, an object of aim, of desire, something like that. And Prakriti is, since non-conscious or non-sentience, so how can it be connected with these Purusharthas? Therefore, not only in Sankhya but also in Vedanta we have this problem. In Vedanta we have, instead of Prakriti we have Maya with all the characteristics the same. Only difference we can say is Maya is depend on Ishvara, the consciousness. So the Ishvara Maya combined, all manifestation happens. So this problem is solved there in this sense. Still we can ask this question, why Ishvara should have an object of Srishti, object of creation? Why? Because Ishvara should be self-satisfied. He has no special desires. All the individual jivas are desires, and they have object of life, working, acting. This can be there. The similar problem Sankhya also has. And then Sankhya says, as we learned, this consciousness is reflected in Prakriti. So Prakriti become a what we can say reflected consciousness or adopted conscious. So this adopted consciousness can have all the purpose or all the desires as we see in the life. This adopted consciousness, to say intellect is adopted consciousness. So now Prakriti originally is insentient, inert, but the intellect and other manifestations have sensations, consciousness. Then comes one problem again. The productions of ahankara, we see 11 indriyas and 5 subtle elements, the rudiment of all these elements. There, that object, whatever object we see, sound, touch and all those objects, they cannot be said conscious because they don't have consciousness. That is what we see as in this experience. Now, if ahankara is conscious or reflected consciousness it has or adopted consciousness by cessation, then how it is this rudiment of all these elements are not having the consciousness? Or can we say that? This problem again remains. In that point they say, the elements what we see outside, they have 2 different forms. One form is their own material cause which manifests. The second form is the purpose they have, why they are manifesting. So this purpose can be connected again with these purusharthas, and that is the function of adopted consciousness. This is how we can say this. All these problems up to the elements and again the sub manifestation of elements, Vedanta also has all these problems. So there what Vedanta say, what we see as inert elements or its manifestation, actually they are not unconscious or insentient. Their consciousness is unmanifested. So they have this reflected consciousness, but the consciousness is not manifested because the elements they have is not supporting the manifestation or appearance of consciousness. So it has unappeared consciousness, all these elements. This is how Vedanta answered. And this point is not there in any of the Upanishads or Upanishad Mula, in the original text of the Upanishads. It has been discussed and the commentators, especially Shankaracharya, has given this answer to satisfy the opponent asking how you can say Atma is everywhere. Brahman is everywhere. So he has given this answer. Unmanifested state of or unmanifested form of consciousness is there in all being whatsoever. So same thing here also we have. Now when we see classical Sankhya textbooks, this point is not as addressed well. Therefore, even in Sankhya Karika, it is not again and again mentioned regarding this point. Therefore, to convince the reader, convince the student, Ishvara Krshna is bringing all these examples. So how one should accept this. Now, without purpose, nothing can be done. No manifestation or no creation, no activity. So each and every action has to have a purpose. So without purpose, what action can be there? So the changes what is happening in ancient objects outside in the creation must have some purpose. Otherwise the changes, something is produced and after that it is changing its character, it become old, then it slowly perishes. So the destruction or construction is also the part of manifestation. Because when you bring something out of some cause, some material cause, it would be in a different form. So the first form changed into second form. So when we are bringing it, we know what was the first form and what is the second form. In the case of our own creation. But in the case of nature's manifestation, how the nature manifests itself? How can we say without purpose? So there must be a purpose. So even Sankhya, because they are very much connected, or they wanted to establish in a materialistic way. All the creation is material creation. Even for Sankhya, they have to accept this. Without purpose, nothing is possible. Now, once we accept the purpose, now where the break of that purpose? How the purpose is completed? Now, after completion, what would happen? When we see in a materialistic way, the matter will appear or manifest in different forms, and it will continue to manifest. There is no stoppage. There is no reason for a stoppage. For the stoppage, you need a extra force behind it, as Newton's theory. Because if you want to stop something, you need extra force. Otherwise, it will continue its own. As a machine, it will work. That force which we need is not clearly mentioned by Sankhyas. Now they say Prakriti work for Purusha or acts or manifest for the purpose of Purusha, and once the purpose is completed, it stops function. So this is what they say. Now, where this message can be given to Prakriti that the purpose is completed? Who is the knower? who knows that the purpose is completed. Can we say the Prakriti knows? No, Prakriti is insentient. Prakriti has nothing to do with that. Now, who gives this instruction that now the purpose is completed, there is no need for further functioning? So, Prakriti will withdraw from there. So, all these problems, there are so many minute problems to be solved. Ishvara Krshna is bringing these three Karikas to somehow convince you that Prakriti will stop itself when the purpose is completed. Now, since we started this discussion in this sense, we have to bring some answer. And all these three Karikas not really giving the convincing answer. It's only indicating some points. It can be like this, it can be like this, it can be like that. So the what we can logically think is that will come on the 62 Karikas. It will give the point there. That only we can say there is no creation. This point should be remembered. So there is no creation from the point of view of the consciousness. In the beginning also I mentioned this point. There is no creation from the point of view of consciousness. If you see from the point of view of consciousness, there is no creation. If there is no creation, there is no birth and death, there is no bondage, then we have to say there is no liberation too. So now for whom is the liberation? From the point of view of consciousness. So whatever is happening here is all related to the different manifestations, like intellectual manifestation and elemental manifestation, or we can say the subjective or objective or whatever manifestation we talk about, must be related to Prakriti only, the material cause. So the manifestation starts from material cause and it sustains in material cause, end with material cause, or merge into material cause. There is nothing connected to consciousness soever. So consciousness is always free. Okay, then what is the problem? It's okay. The problem is when we think about experiences, our mental and physical experiences, we are being conscious. We have mind and we have the feeling and experience everything. The thinkers, the experiencers, we are. We think from the point of view of consciousness, not from the point of view of the material cause. That is the problem here. So when I think I am suffering, I normally do not think that my body is suffering or my mind is suffering. I think I am suffering. I am born, I am living, and I will die. So the problem stands there. This is not a philosophical problem. This is what it is called as a reality of. This is the reality of life. Address this problem, all these philosophies are made. It's not they are bringing some problems for you and solving it. So we are confused with this. We are attributing all the functions of Prakriti to the consciousness And from that point of view, we are seeing the object and we are having so many doubts and problems regarding this. It cannot be answered. And this is not only in Sankhya and Yoga philosophies, because they are similar philosophies, they have many similarities, but also Vedanta and other philosophies. Jaya Vaisheshika and all. They all have these problems. So we have to take this point into consideration. Wherever Sankhya says about this manifestation and all this drama, whatever they are talking about, we have to keep this point in mind, that it is from the point of view of consciousness, or that we are conscious. If we separate this, the consciousness is separate and the material cause is separate, that point, in that time, all the problems are solved. Therefore, they brought this conclusion, we can see in the 62 Karika. Thus this intellect, which is called otherwise Mahatattva in cosmic level. So the intellect has all this bondage and all these problems related to that, and it is having the liberation and sadhana and for that everything. So therefore, in these karikas, these three karikas, what we were discussing, you will only get some points that they want to communicate with us. So this is how it is performed. And here, as I mentioned in the last lecture, we cannot bring any logic to prove what it is. So therefore I gave this introduction to this. Otherwise, we will think why they say all this. It is not understandable in that level. If we take Prakriti and Purusha separate, then how can Prakriti do all this? So therefore, it is again as adopted consciousness or reflected consciousness. They are talking with the point of view, from the point of view of our own existence, our own experience. So this way, after the liberation is achieved, or the discriminative knowledge comes, then there is no creation at all in that level, because then the observer, the sakshi, or the individual soul will understand and experience that whatever happened and happening is in the Prakriti only, it's not in me. I am completely separate. So that is what they are talking about. Yesterday there was an example of milk and cow milk and this thing, and how Prakriti manifests itself with a purpose. So the purpose is nourishing the cow, and Prakriti works itself for that without any other support. That is what wanted to convey there. Now in 58 Karika, last Karika we have seen, the 56th Karika we have seen the Swartha iva pravritti, Swartha iva parartha iva. So for others' sake, Prakriti is working as if Prakriti is working for its own sake. So it was mentioned. Now how it is, how Prakriti is working for its own sake. So some purpose should be attributed even to Prakriti for a normal understanding. If Prakriti is working, then it should be attributed. Now, like when we see this book is for not the sake of book. not for the book. So book is working for us. That is what we have to say. Now, if this book is working for us, then the purpose of book from my or the owner of the book or the from book's its own purpose. So now where the purpose is implied. Now this is my book and this book is different from me and I am using the book. I am taking all the benefit of the book and the existence of book is for me. It seems to be for me. But since it is different from me, it has its own manifestation. Its existence is because it has some manifestation. That is why it is existing. Now this manifestation, which book itself has, how it be? What is the purpose there? If there is no purpose, no manifestation can happen. This is the bound of this theory. They say if there is no purpose, no purushartha, no manifestation will happen. Therefore, once the purushartha is completed, manifestation stops, then the liberation happens, emancipations. After that, there is no rebirth for that individual. This is the philosophy we all say. Now, if this book has no purpose, without my support, I am not doing anything with this book. I am only using that. The manifestation is there itself. It is made and now it is changing its character, it is changing its color and it is fading its work and everything is there. Whatever we can say add to the in that level. By some years or some months, it will change its character. So now, this is not done by me. Although I am with the beneficiary, but I am not doing anything with this. So therefore, this book also has its own purpose. This is something, what you say, irrational to understand. So how can you say the book has a purpose? So we have to say, that is what they say. Now, if Prakriti is working on that, then Prakriti has its own purpose. So this building has its own purpose. Therefore, it is standing. We are only a part of that. So therefore, once it is one curiosity or whatever we can say, something is added there. That is also big with the connection of the reflected consciousness. So this is what is mentioned in this Karikas. Ausukya nivrityartham yatha kriyasu pravartate lokaha. Purushasya vimokshartham pravartade tadvadavyaktam. Now you can see they brought a poetic style of analogy. In a poetic style, they want to say. Now, this conscious Purusha is not asking Prakriti to do anything for it. Purusha. Purusha is not asking anything. Why? Because Purusha cannot ask. It is only witnessing. You know from the 19th Karika. So it is said, Sakshi, Madhyastha and all this. So Purusha will not ask anything. I need this, I need that. I need liberation or I need enjoyment, nothing. Nothing is connected to consciousness because consciousness is completely inactive. It's a pure consciousness. Now, without consultation of consciousness, why this Prakriti is working? You have to say something, like I said, why this book is manifesting itself, changing its characters. So it says it is very, very normal. Like lokaha, people normally do this. Autsukya nivrityartham. Because of restlessness. Autsukya in Sanskrit it's called Utsuka, the form of Autsukya. Say desire, very anxious with the anxiety, the desire with anxiety, or you can say ardent desire, very strong, like children has. So when they cannot sit quiet. So if something comes to their mind, they will just act. So similarly, the ardent restlessness, or it is that zeal of this Prakriti, that is called Autsukya. That is why I said this is a poetic language used to just convey this. Now you will ask how Prakriti can have this ardent desires, anxiety and restlessness. Restlessness Prakriti can have, because the gunas are there, gunas are always in function. Therefore, it can create restlessness. So similarly, when we sit quiet, if we have energy, the energy is created in the body, we will feel restless. So you have to act, no? The rajas will bring, or rajas will take us for action. So similarly, the restlessness of Prakriti, Autsukya Nivrityartham, Kriyasu Pravartade Lokaha, is an analogy. Like people work or act, they perform many actions with this restlessness. When they are restless, they will work, do something. So this is how Prakriti, Avyaktam. So Avyaktam is also in the state of restlessness, because it has so much of karmas and all vasanas, all are there in the form of seed, the seed form of that. Now, once Rajas is activated, the potential energy changed into kinetic energy. So once it is in form of kinetic energy, it cannot be stopped. It will just move. So in the state of potential energy, equilibrium, there is a balanced state. Even though the action and reactions and some functions are there, the manifestation is also there, but it is not appearing as an action. But once it is changed into the manifestation level, in kinetic form, so it cannot stop. So this is the situation here. The Purushasya vimokshartham pravartade tadvad avyaktam. So because of this desires or enthusiasm, anxiety or whatever, that's something we have to poetically attribute to Prakriti. So it start working. So tadvad avyaktam pravartade. What is the purpose? Again the purpose is remembered. Purushasya vimokshartham. Although this Purusha doesn't want anything, it has no purpose, but because of these energies of Prakriti, it manifests and first give enjoyments. Then once the Purusha is in enjoyment, then there is another purpose applied there for the release from the enjoyment. This is how it happens. First the enjoyment will come, bhoga. So it will start with the bhoga. Then after some time, once the bhoga is completed, then the liberation will come. That is also manifestation. So we have the 8 bhava srishtis, intellectual creations. So those bhava srishtis makes all this possible. After of that, the knowledge, discriminative knowledge will help for liberation, and all other will be working for the enjoyment, experiences of worldly experiences. So this is how the Prakriti is working or acting without support of anything else. So Purushasya Vimokshartam, the purpose is also mentioned, and how it is working, that is also mentioned. This point was it was there in the 56th Karika, to Swarthe iva pararthe arambha. So this is what it is said there. As if for Prakriti's own sake it is working. Now what is the Prakriti's own purpose? This releasing of restlessness. So that is the own purpose, because it has the tendency to act. Now it cannot be stopped. So let it act. That is how it's happened. So no, then let it happen. So autsukya nivrityartham yada kriyasu pravartate lokaha purushasya vimokshatam pravartate tadvad avyaktam. Now here also you cannot apply any logic. Any philosophical reason cannot be applied here. Why I am saying directly? Because as per the conditions of a Darshana Shastra, a philosophical school, they have certain points. When you argue with some argument of some philosophical point, the philosopher must give logic, rational understandings with the examples, comparisons, and from quoting from Shastras. Otherwise, your argument is not considered as a valid, solid argument. It's just an argument. Here, like, because the poetic language is not allowed in philosophy. Because poetry is different from philosophical textbook. Now here, whatever he is saying in these Karikas, poetic language is added. It means now you see, if you ask questions, cannot be answered. So why, how Prakriti can have this? What is the character of Prakriti? And why he is saying all this, we will understand from the 62 Karika. Till then, what with the discussion we will understand there. But he is giving this just to convey the message. Is something happening there? So here, two things we can understand. One is the purpose is there in the Prakriti also. Or we can say, if we say correctly, specifically, only the Prakriti has the purpose, not the Purusha. And how it has? Because it has the tendency for acting. The Prakriti has the tendency to act. Therefore, it should act. Now, if without purpose it cannot act, and what is the purpose? Moksha is the purpose. So this consciousness, which is untouched with all these functions, all these manifestations, good and bad and all those, is totally untouched. But the Prakriti makes that Purusha involved in this. The consciousness involved in this. So this is the stage where we say ignorance, superimposition, and indiscriminative knowledge, all those are here in this stage. The Purusha is confused, or the Prakriti made the Purusha confused to act on this, to reflect on this. So now we have to tell the story, otherwise how can we understand what is he saying? So we are also in Vedanta also has this. Now, why Brahma become Jiva? We have to say all these stories. Brahman reflected on Antakarana, and then the Antakarana has all these qualities, and Antakarana become conscious, reflected consciousness with the Jiva Chaitanya, and then Jiva Chaitanya become individual being, and then Jiva Chaitanya has all these desires, Ajnana, Kama, Karma, Lobha, and all those desires and functions, and then it acts with the physical body, and then Linga Shariram comes, and the physical subtle body comes, and physical body comes, and then you have action, and then action has the reaction as karma and karma phala, so it goes on like that. Okay, so now one more point. How Prakriti's creation cease spontaneously. Spontaneously means without a reason. What it means. So cease off. Now stops the action. How it stops, that is also made a poetic example here. There is one sutra corresponding to this. Nartagivat pravrittasyapi nivrittis charitarthatva. Nartagivat pravrittasyapi nivrittis charitarthatva. So Sankhya Sutra 369. Third chapter, 69 Sutra. If you want to study this Sankhya philosophy more detailed and elaborated, we should study Sankhya Sutra with Vijnana Bhikshu's Sankhya Pravachya, the commentary called Sankhya Pravachana. So very, very good. It has in detail of all these points, and then arguments and Purvaksha and Siddhanta, and so many sadhanas, various sadhanas are discussed. So everything is there. The furthest, after this we normally go for Sankhya Sutras and study that. Or similarly, Yoga Bhashyam, Vyasa Bhashya of Yoga Shastra, and the Yoga Vartikam of Vijnana Bhikshu. So it is all discuss of these points of Sankhya Darshan. The next Karika. Rangasya darshayitva nivartade nartaki yatha nrityat. Purushasya tathatmanam prakashya nivartade prakritihi. Now actually this is somebody did some research on this Karika. This is one of the oldest mentions of the stage performance. No, we have stage performance. So where it is started, because this Karikas now, as per the studies, it must be BC 2nd century. Between BC 2nd century and AD 2nd century. In between it is considered. So that time also we had a good stage performance and all this stage performers, dancers, dramas. So you can see this mentioned here. Even in Sankhya Darshana they had this. So Rangasya darshayitva nivartade nartaki yatha nrityat. A performer, a dance performer, she stopped dancing after the performance. Why she stops? Rangasya darshayitva. The Ranga means stage or spectators. The viewers, they have seen the dance, and once the dancer thinks that now they are satisfied with my dance and they are happy with my dance, so they clap, so then the dancer stops the dancing. You see? So this is how it happens. So Rankasya darshayitva nivartade yatha nrityat. So very simple. So stop dancing. Similarly, Prakriti. The Prakriti is also dancing Maya, dancing and performing in front of consciousness. It is exposing itself in front of consciousness and bringing so many objects, different kinds of objects for a long time. So after some time or after experiencing all this, so there will be a last clapping. So it completes. It means the consciousness, the experience is completed. Now consciousness doesn't want to experience furthermore. The satisfaction came. Or we can say, now the spectator's consciousness is not interested in seeing the dance of the Prakriti anymore. So that is dispassion, vairagya. So that stage came. Now it is boring, no? Again and again, if you see too much of dancing, it is boring always. So he is bored with that and he stops seeing it and showing no interest to see the dance more. Then what the dancer thinks, the Prakriti thinks, oh, now he is satisfied, so we can stop the dance program. So Prakriti stops the dancing. So Purushasya tadhatmanam prakashya. Prakashya means exhibiting or exposing in front of Purusha. It stops doing all these things. Now no manifestation is there. Now in this analogy, there is a problem. It is not, it has some disadvantage. What is the disadvantage? Because once the this performer withdraws, it is not forever. So the performer can go to another stage and show the dance there again. Similarly, if the same the people, the viewers, if they want after sometimes again more dance, so they can ask or make a program again. So this disadvantage is there. So therefore, he will give one more Karika, the next Karika, to remove this disadvantage. So it is for permanent.
This is not convincing at all.
Yes, what it is. That's why I said I already took this point, and this is all poetic days. Yeah. So what is said in a poetic way, you have to understand in a poetic way. So there you cannot apply logic. So this is all I said. No, the upama, drishtantam, and why I made all these, because these karikas are criticized with all these three or 2, 3 more, 4, 5 karikas. These all karika is criticized with these examples. All the translators, even acharyas like Shankaracharya and all, they criticized Karika because of these points they mentioned here. Because it is not actually appealing to this philosophical textbook. In philosophical textbook, like when we talk about serious philosophy very deeply, then bring such examples very lightly. So it is not allowed in philosophical textbooks. So therefore, it is criticized because you want to convince the reader some point which is not really appealing in the context. It means it is not relevant here. So it seems to be irrelevant. But he has some point in this. All these 3 karikas, he has some points. Although it is not very appealing or logically correct, but he is conveying some point there. So that point we will discuss later. So this is the Karika here. Now the last Karika of this contest, the discussion. नानाविधैरुपायैरुपकारिण्यनुपकारिणः पुंसः गुणवत्यगुणस्य सदस्तस्यार्थमपार्थकं चरति After this simple Karika, now you have had a hard Karika. so many ideas are implied there. So Nana Vidhair Upayair Upakarinya Anupakarinaha Pumsaha. Because basically he is very serious. Now, from the beginning you can see Ishvara Krishna's Karikas, very seriously he wrote it. But in between we have to apply something for conveying some message. And it is not he made it. Because even in Sankhya Sutra we have this examples, what I quoted, 361. So in the third chapter of Sankhya Sutra, we have so many examples, full of examples and stories. Third chapter of Sankhya. And then fourth chapter also we have something. But first chapter and second chapter, like here, is very serious. The all serious discussion in first chapter and second chapter. Then third chapter and fourth chapter we have this thing. And the fifth chapter and sixth chapter of opponent and other discussions, with the realized person, how he acts and all those comes in those chapters. So this is there in the Nartakivat Pravrittasyapi Nivrittir Charitarthatva. So once it is completed, the object is completed, the action is stopped. So this is very normal. When the object is completed, action is stopped. So it is. It may be whether it is in insentient or it is insentient. Both the places it is same. You stop by if there is no reason why it should work. So there is the stoppage is there. So therefore, it can be said in this way, the poetic way. That's all. Nana vidhai upayavai. This way you have seen in all these three Karikas. So manifold means or manifold ways. Prakriti manifests in manifold. So Nana Vidhai. Nana Vidha means manifold. Upayaihi. Upaya means. Trying to satisfy the consciousness, Purusha. Now how the Purusha is? Upakarini anupakarinaha pumsaha. No, this Prakriti is very generous. Prakriti is very generous and working for Purusha. But this Purusha, just opposite of that. Anupakarini. Purusha will not help anybody. He is completely non-generous. Anupakarini. So if somebody does something, we have to return back. No? So Purusha, now the consciousness never returned back. So there is no returning. But Prakriti is working for the Purusha. So the benefit of it is not the benefit of Prakriti, but the benefit goes to Purusha, but Purusha never returns back. Even then Prakriti is working. So Upakarini is Prakriti. Upakara means generous act. It's called Upakara. Anupakarina means there is no generous act. So Anupakarinaha Pumsaha Upakarini Nana Vidhairupayehi Charati, pursues, works. The Prakriti is after Purusha, working for Purusha. Why? It is said because it cannot sit quietly. Restlessness. Because of restlessness, Prakriti works for Purusha and Purusha doesn't need anything. So Purusha is not reacting. That's only from one side. Gunavati agunasya sataha tasya artham aparthakam charati. Now this Prakriti has so many qualities, possessing of qualities, Gunavati, virtuous or Gunavati in possessing of qualities. Prakriti has three qualities, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and mixture of that many qualities are formed. So endowed with qualities, that is called Gunavati. Now the Purusha has no qualities, Aguna, devoid of all the gunas, no qualities are there. Having no quality means Purusha has no parts or constituents, nothing is added there. It is pure. Now if something is pure, then there cannot be any action. Pure in the sense, only one thing is there. What it is? This consciousness. So therefore, Purusha cannot act and react, nothing can be done. So agunaha, without guna, nirguna, it is said nirguna. Instead of nirguna, here it is said aguna. Aguna means nirguna. Therefore, it cannot react. Now, if Purusha wants to give back, returns back to Prakriti, it cannot do because Purusha has no qualities. How can it return back? So there is no taking, no returning, even though Prakriti is working. So now you see how foolish Prakriti is. So now there is no connection and no taking, no returning and nothing happening, but it is working. Why? Because as the 58 Karika said, we have to say that Gunas has its own character. It is always in action. So the restlessness what we talked about, Sankhya. So therefore, we have to understand that way. Now, let the function be there. Let the manifestation be there in the Prakriti. Now, who is benefited? The beneficiary is Purusha. And that benefit is attributed to Purusha. Benefit also attributed to Purusha. So no action, no fruit of the action. So this also attributed to Purusha. Then what is what is the benefit of Prakriti? That once Prakriti knows that, or the completion of action, it can withdraw from the action. So the Prakriti thinks as here we have dancer. So the dancer thinks now the viewers are satisfied, then it withdraws. So this is also attributed to Purusha. So without attribution or without superimposition, no action, no reaction is happening in Purusha. That is what mentioned here. So Purusha is Anupakari and Purusha is Nirguna. So therefore, Tasya Artham Aparthakam Jarati. He is taking further. He is saying, for this Purusha, which has no gunas, nothing, and no purpose. No gunas means no purpose. So Tasya Artham Aparthakam. Apartha means objectless, purposeless. Who is purposeless? This Purusha is purposeless, objectless. Purusha has no object because it is purely consciousness. But Prakriti bringing all this Artham, the object, the purpose, for its own sake. Therefore it is said, it is working for its own sake, not for the sake of Purusha, but as if working for Purusha. It's in both ways. Why it is so? Because the Prakriti is Sankhata. It's a combination and union of many parts. So this is what the reason we can say. There's a logic we can say. It is made of many parts. So it is working for Purusha. It seems to be working for Purusha. There is no connection with the Purusha, because Purusha doesn't need, the consciousness doesn't need any object from Prakriti, any manifestation from Prakriti, no enjoyment, no liberation, nothing is needed for Purusha. So no artham, apartha means devoid of purpose. Artha, if we translate as purpose, so purposeless. Who is purposeless? The Purusha is purposeless. And Prakriti is bringing the purpose from its own side and manifesting itself and showing all this and then withdrawing itself. So therefore it is happening this way. So this point he wants to bring it to this stage. So he made all these 3-4 karikas for just bring that point. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Tomorrow is Ashtami. We have holiday.